Good Wednesday afternoon to you. I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. Browns getting ready to face the Pittsburgh Steelers over at First Energy Stadium Sunday, 1 o'clock kickoff. A little bit later, Tim Bielik from cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer will join us. We will talk plenty of Browns and Steelers. First AFC North game for the Browns. Okay, from practice today, Jadeveon Clowney not able to go. Also not practicing Malik Jackson, Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Denzel Ward. And you see Jadeveon Clowney, we should have just listed what was feeling good instead of the areas that were bothering him and keeping him from practice. Not listed on that list is the quarterback, Baker Mayfield, and that is because Baker Mayfield went through practice, was throwing the ball, a little bit of zip on it as well. Take a look out in Berea. Baker Mayfield ready to go, taking part in team drills, and looking like he can throw the ball pretty effectively. Again, nobody's running or chasing him down, but Baker Mayfield did undergo full practice. Earlier today, Kevin Stefanski talked about his availability. Baker Mayfield also talked about what would go into determining if he played, as well as how the shoulder's feeling. Is it better with a week off, and what the plan is for this week?
I mean, I think similar to last week of, see what I can do and take it day by day. It definitely did. A noticeable difference in range of motion and strength. So, like I said, take it day by day and see where we're at. I think it was a little bit of both. Of just, I said it last week of if I feel like I'm not able to be, at close to 100% and be able to help this team. If I'm in a situation where I'm going to hurt the team, I'm not going to go. So that's where we were at, and that's what we evaluated.
With all of our players, with any player dealing with an injury, we really rely on the medical team. We rely on the player to make decisions for each guy, and that's what we'll do in this case.
What do you expect Baker to do today in practice?
Everything.
Like normal?
Yeah.
Let's welcome in Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. So, Hayden, we saw it. Baker Mayfield pretty much practicing as normal, and in listening to him talk, he expects to be playing quarterback against the Steelers come Sunday. Or if he doesn't, he sold me on him expecting to be there.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting. I think obviously he wants to be there. I think that he wants to be playing on Sunday. He's a competitive guy. I still think that it is truly a day-to-day thing. It's something to where every day is going to be different. Baker Mayfield, again, if he doesn't come out of practice feeling super good today and he, tries again tomorrow and then, feels better on Thursday, it really is going to be a day-by-day thing. I think that Baker's listening to his doctors. I think that Baker's listening to his head coach. I think Baker's, I think he's listening to the people around him, and he's going to do what's best for the team at the end of the day. So if he feels that he's ready to go out there and play, against this Pittsburgh defense, and he's going to do it. But if he doesn't, and his doctors are saying, hey, this is going to be something to where you're just going to have to take it week by week, and if this inflammation starts to go down, then then you can start to really ramp things up. But today, I was out there at practice. He looked fine. He looked, he's kind of had that shoulder thing where he's not really moving it. It's that harness that's keeping his shoulder in place. So. He looks a little awkward with it, but not awkward enough to where I'm like, where it's taking zip off the ball or making him inaccurate in any way.
The other thing is and you heard it, he sure sounds like a guy that's determined to do everything within his power to be out there against the Steelers in a divisional game.
Yeah, he knows, again, he's the leader of this football team, and he is the guy that, a lot of his teammates trust and all of his teammates trust, and he's the guy. He's the captain. He's the thing that makes this wheel go. So, yes, Case Keenum can step up and be effective and can win a football game. But, again, Baker wants to be the guy, is the guy, and thinks, that he's got to go out there and be there for his team no matter what. So, I think that he really, really, really has that competitive spirit, which I think is a good thing, so long as it doesn't get, in a space where he's not performing well because of it or where he's hurting the team because of it.
All right, so Baker Mayfield back on the practice field. Also back on the practice field, Nick Chubb, the starting running back who has missed a couple with that calf injury. Chubb talked about what his status was as well as what the Steelers do defensively.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see how this week goes, see how practice goes, and make a decision later on.
Yeah, I get it. It's a rivalry tradition thing, but for me, I'm taking it day by day. I'll always take it. Yeah.
When you look at their defense, what jumps out at you?
I mean, same as always, those guys. I mean, big and physical. I mean, up front, they're athletic, they're fast. I mean, they're great tacklers. They do a lot. They cover the ball well. They do almost everything great. So, it'd be a challenge for us for sure. I mean, they're a great defense.
And Hayden, if you can get Nick Chubb back leading the backfield, that's a huge advantage, and it takes a little bit of the load off whomever is at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, that would help Baker Mayfield tremendously if Nick Chubb was able to get out on the field. I mean, obviously Nick Chubb, top 5 leading rusher in the NFL, though he's missed 2 games. So, I mean, you imagine what he would be if he was in, those 2 games. But obviously provides just not only a safety valve for Baker Mayfield, but again, when you pound the ball the way the Browns do, that can really take a toll on an opposing defense. And the Browns have proven over the last couple of games they played against Steelers, both of them back-to-back weeks after the regular season finale, and then they into the playoff game. They ran the ball well, so they can do that again against the Steelers front, given Cleveland's great offensive line. And I think the Nick Chubb being back is a huge boost for this offense, no matter what.
Another guy that is expected to be back and expected to play, Jack Conklin. That would be the right tackle that puts your entire offensive line back whole, if you will. You got those 5 guys that you've come to get used to playing the offensive line. Kevin Stefanski talked about getting that offensive starting 5, that line back, and how important it is.
As you know, it's so important, those 5 playing together, the communication that occurs along that front. The guys that have gone in have really stepped up and done a great job for us, but Jack's an integral part of our run attack, our pass attack, so it'd be great to have him back out there.
And Hayden, you need those 5 guys up there. That's kind of the identity that this team under Kevin Stefanski has had, and Conklin back would be a huge upgrade and a huge thing for the Browns.
Yeah, I mean, to have your full offensive line ready to go is a big thing. I mean, we've seen Jedrick Wills kind of be beaten up since week 1. He's had those ankle issues, and then Jack gets hurt a couple of weeks ago. So it's definitely going to be great to see the entire offensive line back there. I mean, you're going to have Jedrick, you're going to have Joel, you're going to have JC, you're going to have Wyatt, you're going to have Jack Conklin. So looking forward to that unit being back out there. And obviously, when you have that unit out there, that's going to help Baker Mayfield in the pass protection game. That's going to help your running game. It's going to help pretty much everything, because those guys probably are the best offensive line of football. And I love to watch them work. They're really a fantastic unit to watch. So excited that they're all healthy again, because it's so fun to watch them when they're in sync and working together.
And again, Chubb back practicing, expected to go. That would move Dearness Johnson into that running back 2 role. Not exactly the same role as Kareem Hunt, but certainly the Browns have enough confidence to give him as many touches as they feel needed to get Nick Chubb back where he's feeling good and able to go for a full workload.
Yeah, Dearness earned it. I mean, that's what Kevin Stefanski said today, that Dearness ran his butt off against the Denver Broncos in a spot where they really needed him. And you definitely give props to the offensive line. You cannot have a game like Dearness had without a good offensive line play. But Dearness, again, can step in, fill in the role really, really well. He's a really good back. He runs super hard. He's a guy that can see the hole well, is patient back there. So I'm excited for Dearness Johnson to get some more reps, because obviously he's earned them and he deserves them. And with Kareem Hunt out, you couldn't ask for a better option than Dearness Johnson.
Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, Ben Roethlisberger will talk about the rivalry and his success at First Energy Stadium. We will also take a look at the Browns' defensive side of the football. Browns getting ready for the Steelers Sunday at 1. Sports4CLE will take a deeper look on the Browns' defense when we return. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Sports4CLE continues. Browns getting ready to face the Steelers, a renewed rivalry with the Browns' success last year against Pittsburgh. Well, Ben Roethlisberger, quarterback for the Steelers, talked about that rivalry with the Browns and got a little jab in with all the success that he's had at First Energy Stadium.
Well, I don't know if this rivalry ever went away. I hear what you're saying, but I don't know if it ever went away. Yeah, sure. The rivalries are great. And AFC North football is always going to be rivals, and it's going to be great games. And, I think I'm glad that I'm not the most winning quarterback in their stadium history anymore.
Ooh, Hayden, that's a pretty good one. Now, Ben is 11-2-1 in Cleveland. Last loss here was 2014, 31-10. He did play to a 21-all tie in 2018. It's important to note he hasn't played the last couple of times because it's been the last game of the season. The Steelers have clinched the playoffs, and they've played the backup quarterback from time to time as well. But that's a little bit of a dig there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, come on. Ben Roethlisberger has owned the Browns. That's what he does. That's what he's done, excuse me. Be it in Cleveland, be it outside of Cleveland, Ben Roethlisberger has completely, over the last, 20 years, decimated this franchise. So I think the turning of the tide has come. I think the turning of the tide came last year with that playoff win and with the win over the last game of the season, and with the entrance of Baker Mayfield, and that's why I think maybe in the back of his mind, I think that's why Baker Mayfield might really want to play in this one, just again to kind of cement that hey, we're here to stay, and Ben, you've had a great run, time to go home. But again, you can't count him out. Ben Roethlisberger, you cannot count him out regardless. He's not the same guy he was where he was so lethal in extending the play and you couldn't bring him down, and accuracy and ball placement and all that. That's all still there. The decision making, it's all still there. You got to be aggressive against Big Ben, and I have so much respect for Ben Roethlisberger. I've watched him since I was a kid. Just absolutely week in and week out against the Browns, just dominate. So I think his time is up. I think that obviously the Browns want to make sure that his time is up, and this may be his last go round in First Energy Stadium, and it would be quite the way to send him off with the loss. But again, you can't say enough about Ben Roethlisberger and what he's done over his career. Hall of Famer for sure, and Browns fans are probably just happy that he's closer to the end than the beginning.
Well, Father Time is definitely undefeated, and it is closing in on Ben Roethlisberger. But yeah, again, I agree with you. Don't count him out. He seems to find a way to do things that you don't expect him to do. All right, Greg Newsome, rookie cornerback for the Browns, has been really good. Talked about if he senses, and the guys on the defensive side of the ball think things are starting to come together for him.
Yeah, I think we definitely are. I think last game showed that, and the game before. We're starting to, finally get each other, finally starting to trust each other. And like I said earlier, I didn't think it was going to happen overnight. We're a new team together, so I think it's going to take some time. But I think we are definitely heading in the right direction, and we're looking to continue that this Sunday.
And Hayden, I liked Greg Newsome when he was coming out. I think he's played really well. You can make a case that he's been probably the best cover guy. You know, he or Greedy Williams, and I know Denzel Ward's banged up, and it's not fair, but you know, on the field, that's been a guy that I've been surprised that quarterbacks have not thrown at him more often.
Yeah, I mean, he's not somebody to pick on. That's the bottom line. He's, you know, they brought him in to Cleveland because of his ability as a cover corner, and he's been that. And you know, people are saying, well, why aren't they picking on Greg Newsome? Why aren't they picking on Greg Newsome? Well, it's probably because you don't want to pick on Greg Newsome. I mean, he's a rookie, yeah, but again, if you got skills like Greg Newsome's got skills, then you don't want to pick on him. So I think you're right. I think he's done a tremendous job. He's had some tough tasks. I think, you know, kind of emphasized last week by Cortland Sutton playing against him. You know, that's not an easy matchup no matter how you look at it. So I think Greg Newsome has been great, but I think he's right. I think, you know, they're starting to come together. The pass rush is starting to help the secondary. They need to become still more of a unit. And I think because I think you've seen great things from guys like Miles and Jadeveon Clowney and the guys up front, Malik's. And you've seen some great things from Denzel and Denzel, Greedy, and Greg, and all the guys back there, John Johnson, but they just haven't really gelled yet. So I think that's what we're waiting to see, is a game where they can just gel and play great in both aspects of the football game.
Yeah, and again, it was naive to think it was going to happen all at once with so many different parts. But you know, they're running. This unit's running out of time. They got to get it together. This is kind of the meat of the schedule now. Pro Football Focus, highest pressure rates this season for edge rushers, and the Browns have 2 of the top 3, and they're the only team with 2 in the top 7. You got Myles Garrett at 19.8 and Jadeveon Clowney at 19.5. That is a pretty good indication that those guys are getting it done off the edge, and we've seen meet at the quarterback. The Browns need that consistently coming up here with the stretch games they have facing them.
Yes, they do. They got to. Those guys have been magnificent, and I think they'll continue to be. I said before the season, I think Jadeveon Clowney was set for a breakout year. He's just kind of never put it together, be it through injury or whatever. But he has been really, really, really good, and I think it's something that's been helped by Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett has helped that situation tremendously. You know, I think they've helped each other. I think they're winning a lot because they're not getting chipped the way they used to, or they're not getting, you know, double and triple team, because you got to deal with both of them. So I give credit to Joe Woods, mixing them around a little bit. I give credit to both of those guys for just being, you know, again, they're athletic freaks, but they work hard and they get after it. So Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett are 2 of probably the top defensive end unit in the NFL, and they need to continue to get after it. I mean, Myles is at 9.5 sacks. I think Jadeveon Clowney's somewhere around 5. I want to see that continue. I want to see them continue to get to the quarterback and really, you know, and cement themselves as the best duo in the league, because I think that they are.
When you look at this defense, and you and I both thought the defense, I think the potential is there to be dominant. What do you think they need to do to kind of take it to the next level of play where they need to be for this team to be successful?
Yeah, they need to not play great quarterbacks. That's the easy answer. I mean, they've played Kyler, they've played Justin Herbert, they've played Pat Mahomes. I mean, those are the 3 games they've lost. And Kyler Murray is putting together an NFL MVP season. Pat Mahomes has multiple MVPs, and obviously they're not playing as well right now, but they certainly played, you know, pretty well against Cleveland. And Justin Herbert, again, a really fantastic quarterback in his own right. So you got a stretch coming up. They're not built. The Browns are not really built to play those little, you know, those fast little quarterbacks. And, you know, Lamar Jackson's going to be a challenge, certainly. But you like what you see upcoming. Joe Burrow is not the most mobile guy. You can get to him. Ben Roethlisberger, not the most mobile guy. You can get to him. Mac Jones, not the most mobile guy. You can get to him. So there's a stretch here where you got some quarterbacks you can come and get after. And, you know, I think it's hard for any NFL team to play a running quarterback. And I think that's why the Browns are, you know, they're going to miss GOK. They do miss GOK. Hopefully they can get GOK back by the time they do play Lamar, because that's kind of what they're looking for in that realm. I mean, they're trying to, you know, they try to add some speed to the middle of that defense to help, you know, track down guys like Lamar and Kyler Murray. And, you know, unfortunately for GOK, it was just bad timing with that injury. And we'll see what happens going forward here. We'll see what happens with him, helping out this defense. But I think as a whole, they just have to, continue to get after the quarterback and be aggressive. I don't think you can be aggressive when you're playing a guy like Kyler Murray because he'll beat you over the top. You can't really be aggressive against a guy like Pat Mahomes, again, beat you over the top. They can be aggressive against guys like Justin Fields, against Kirk Cousins, against Teddy Bridgewater, the way that they've been. And I think that will only continue as you get to see a couple of these, lesser mobile quarterbacks coming up.
All right, so Kevin Stefanski talked about the challenge that the Browns face with these Pittsburgh Steelers on the offensive side of the ball. Here's Kevin Stefanski from today before practice.
They're doing a nice job. I mean, they have good players on the perimeter, a really good running back. I think Ben Roethlisberger sees everything so clearly. You're really not going to fool him. He makes great decisions with the ball. They're doing a couple new wrinkles, with a new coordinator, although Coach Canada's influence on them even last year you could see. So they're doing a nice job.
And Hayden, you and I talked, Ben Roethlisberger isn't the Ben Roethlisberger of 4 or 5 years ago, but he's not trying to be. He's doing some other things with some of the skill position guys they have that, again, the defense has to account for.
Yeah, Najee Harris has, been one of the best pickups of the offseason for the Steelers. Again, a really talented back who's helped them out a lot. You like what you see from Chase Claypool, again, a big physical receiver. That's going to be a challenge for the Browns as well. But I think the way to get to the Steelers offense is to get to Big Ben. Their offensive line is not what it used to be. They lost Villanueva. They lost Pouncey. They're not the same unit up front. So you've got to be able to get to them. And I think that the Browns will, and they can, and just make Ben make, not poor decisions, because he's probably not going to make poor decisions, but make him make quick decisions, make him get the ball out quickly, make him, get happy feedback there and try to get to him. I think that's the way to attack them. But certainly offensively, again, they are doing some different things. But I think that, again, it runs the way Big Ben's going to run it, and we'll see if he can get the job done against the Browns again on Sunday.
Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. On the other side of the break, Ben Roethlisberger will talk about the challenge that he knows this offensive line is facing with the Browns. We will also take a look at Pro Football Focus's highest grade edge rushers for the season. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine. Too late at night. But feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
Browns getting ready to face the Pittsburgh Steelers 1 o'clock Sunday over at First Energy Stadium. Quarterback Ben Roethlisberger knows that the Steelers' offensive line is facing a pretty big challenge with the Browns' defense.
They should understand what's coming, and because I understand what's coming, and so that's a good challenge for them, and they should be excited for it.
Then you think of Miles when you think of their defense. They a lot more. Is that where they've really improved? Is their
Oh yeah, I mean he's the man. There's no doubt about it. He's one of the best in the NFL at what he does. But the additions that they have, and from D line to secondary, they don't try and complicate or confuse you. It's like, we're just better than you. We're going to line up and beat you and show you that we can do that. So that's where the challenge is gonna come.
And Hayden Grove, I like hearing that perception of the Browns defense, the mindset that Ben Roethlisberger sees when he looks at him is, we're just better than you. We're going to line up and come and get you.
Yeah, on the defensive line, that's very true. I mean, there's nobody better. You're not going to find a better defensive edge than Myles Garrett. You're not going to find a more complimentary one than Jadeveon Clowney. So they're right in that way. And that's what kind of Kevin Stefanski kind of said today. You're not going to confuse Ben Roethlisberger. You just got to go out there and play and be sounding your assignment, your technique, and all that. And, you know, that's what the Browns have to do. And I think they have the talent to do it. I really do. I think they have the talent to do it up front. I think you got to have a big game from, you know, your linebacker unit, Anthony Walker, those guys. And, you know, Denzel Ward, if he doesn't make it to this game, you still got to have a great performance from Troy Hill, from Grady Williams, from Greg Newsome. And John Johnson's got to be the captain back there. John Johnson and Anthony Walker got to be the captains of this defense and got to make sure their guys are in the right spot, because you're right. It's not about confusing Ben. Ben's seen pretty much everything you're going to ever throw at him. He's seen it. It's about being sound in your assignment, doing your assignment, and doing it better than your opponents. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and you know, John Johnson played very well against the Broncos, so it looks like he's getting more and more comfortable with what the Browns are asking him to do. Pro Football Focus graded the edge rushers across the NFL. The top-rated one, Max Crosby from the Raiders, 91.4. Myles Garrett checks in at number 2, just under 91. And then Randy Gregory from the Cowboys, 89.6. All those are Pro Bowl caliber grades. And you know what? We've talked about it. Myles Garrett is capable. And the one thing he hasn't done yet, hadn't gotten one of those strip sacks, and that could be coming here in a hurry.
Yeah, it's something that the Browns really haven't been able to do in period, is to turn the football over. Obviously, you got one from John Johnson on Thursday night, but they have not, you know, continuously put together turnovers the way that they did last year. Last year, they were very, very good in the turnover margin. They really were able to take the football away, and the Browns really haven't done that this year. So you're right. You know, I mean, I think there's a little extra attention being paid to Myles this year, just because, you know, the year that he had last year, and the fact that he's, you know, he leads the league in sacks and whatnot. But I think you're right. I think they are coming. I think this could be a big week for Myles. Myles and the Pittsburgh Steelers have a history. Obviously, you know, not so much Ben Roethlisberger, more Mason Rudolph, but certainly, again, when you're looking at Myles Garrett, he wants to get out there and wants to get to the quarterback and wants to turn the ball over. So he's got to, again, I don't think he has to do it. I don't think that's, you know, they can win without that, but certainly that would make things a lot easier if he was going out there and getting the football out of the quarterback's hand.
Well, Greg Newsome talked about the challenges that Ben Roethlisberger presents, especially given that short passing game that the Steelers have used the last couple of years with Ben at quarterback.
It definitely won't affect it at all. You know, our techniques are something that's, you know, consistent game to game, no matter what routes they run. So it's definitely not going to affect us at all in the secondary.
When Ben Roethlisberger holds the ball as long as he does, what kind of pressure does that put on the quarterbacks?
I mean, I think it's just same thing every single game. You got to be ready to, you know, cover as long as needed. Sometimes rush might not get there. You got to be able to cover long enough, and sometimes a rush will get there, and you only got to cover for maybe 2 seconds. So I mean, you just got to stick to your man and just have you know, controlled eyes.
And Hayden, I would expect Roethlisberger not to hold on to the ball too long. It's kind of been something that as he's gotten a little bit older, he's stopped doing that as much, especially the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's a little harder for him to stay up these days. I mean, it's tough. It's, you know, when you get up there and that he made his living off of staying out of tackles and fending off guys, and now it's just harder, and he's got to get rid of the football quicker. So you're right. I think he's more decisive because I know he doesn't want to get hit as much, and I think I think that they're kind of putting the passing game in that direction for him so that he's not, you know, continuously looking down the field. But he's still a downfield threat. You cannot just give up on those plays. Again, you have Deontay Johnson, you have Chase Claypool that can make plays down the field, and you cannot let them do that. You cannot let them do that. Or else it's going to really, 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 really be a tough game on Sunday. And you're probably not going to win it if you're allowing Ben Roethlisberger to throw the ball all over the field. So, like I said, you got to be able to sound your assignment, and you got to get to the quarterback, got to get to Ben Roethlisberger. That'll make things so much easier for everyone, especially in the secondary.
Yeah, and Claypool is a guy that can go up and get it, a big athletic wide receiver that Roethlisberger will take advantage of. Well, Kevin Stefanski was asked about the Browns beating the Steelers, final game of the regular season to get into the playoffs, then the first game of the playoffs. Beat them in back-to-back weeks a season ago. Is there any carryover to this year? Kevin Stefanski answered it this way.
I think by and large, both teams are similar to who we were at the end of last season schematically. I mean, they had some guys along their, on their defense, bringing Schobert in. On the offensive side, Najee Harris and the tight end. So they have some new players. We have some new players, but I tell you, schematically, it's mostly similar.
And Hayden, the one thing that we have heard from the Steelers players earlier in the week, they remember that that playoff game in particular, where the Browns got after them, and basically they were down 28 before they looked up, and the game was pretty much over.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't forget. I'm sure the Browns don't forget. I mean, they played their butts off in that game, and they were ready. They were ready for that moment. And I think Sunday they got to be ready again, because the Steelers team is not one to be taken lightly. I know that they're at the bottom of the division right now, but they're only 3-3. It's not as though they're 2-5 football team or something like that. So they're talented, but more importantly, they just know how to play. They have a great coach. They have a great scheme. They have a great defense. They always have. You got T.J. Watt back there. You got Joe Hayden, Joe Schobert. You got Cam Hayward. I mean, you got some really, really talented dudes on that defense. Micah Fitzpatrick. And offensively, again, you got some really talented guys. Najee Harris, Eric Ebron, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. I mean, it's not going to be a pushover. So they might look similar, and they probably will be very similar. The Browns are similar in that they have, a lot of the same players coming back, and their scheme is what it is. But there's not going to be any surprises in this game. There really isn't. I don't think there's going to be anything that's going to be thrown out there that's going to be so drastically different than what from what we saw last year at the last two games of the season. The bottom line is who wants it more, and who's going to play better, and who's going to play with more discipline, and who's going to be more focused and able to get after it. I think, and the Browns have no excuse. They need this game. You've got to get your divisional games, especially the ones at home. You got to win this game.
Yeah, and to illustrate your point, don't look past the Steelers. They beat the Bills in week 1. So they are capable of beating elite teams. And the Browns consider themselves an elite team, so we'll see. We're going to step aside. Hayden and I are going to take one more time out on the other side of the break. We'll talk T.J. Watt. We'll talk about Browns getting some turnovers on defense and the keys to getting a win against the Steelers Sunday at First Energy Stadium. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns, getting ready for the Steelers. Kevin Stefanski talked about dealing with T.J. Watt and what makes the Steelers' defensive lineman so good.
He's a great football player. I mean, he is great. He has our respect. He has our attention.
What is it about him?
Size, length, power, twitchiness. Can get to the quarterback, is disruptive when he gets there, plays the run well.
And Hayden, that's a lot of things that you hear about Myles Garrett. So there's Myles Garrett on the other side for the Steelers as well. It's T.J. Watt.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to pay attention. I think that's why you really like to have Nick Chubb back, because I think Nick Chubb is a great blocking back, can help chip on him, can help protect Baker Mayfield. That's also why you like to have Jack Conklin back. Again, another guy who can help with T.J. Watt, who can potentially, help in the way that Blake Hance. Trust me, Blake Hance filled in admirably for Jack Conklin. But Jack Conklin's an all-pro tackle. You feel really good about him being there. It's going to be a good battle with T.J. Watt. I think still T.J. Watt's going to make things disruptive. That's what he does. So I would expect T.J. Watt to come out there and have a day like he's had many times. And the Browns just got to be able to combat it with good blocking, with maybe some good play calls, screens here and there. And an ability to, like Kevin Stefanski said, they're going to know where he is at all times. They just got to make sure they have a hat on him.
The thing that you and I have talked about a little bit earlier, turnovers in the defense. Greg Newsome also said that's kind of been a point of emphasis for the defense.
Yeah, I think they're definitely coming. I think some of the time we've been in the right place, or maybe we caught the ball but got only 1 foot in, or maybe they fumbled 3 times and we just couldn't get it. The ball just didn't bounce our way. But I think we're definitely doing the right things right now, and I think we should start turning that tide in the turnover department.
And Hayden, every time Kevin Stefanski, talks about it, he always will say, we were this, +1 with turnovers. Can't do that. So it's point of emphasis, and if the Browns take the ball away more than they give it away, they've got a really good chance at winning this game.
Yeah, that's always going to be a key for any team to win a game. Is if you're in the positive in that turnover battle, you're in good shape. And the Browns need to continue to be that way. They need to be that way, period. When Baker Mayfield turns the ball over 3 times against the Arizona Cardinals, he knows that's not good enough. We know that's not good enough. And it was a function of him trying to, extend the play and do too much. And, TJ's brother got after Baker Mayfield. So Baker maybe not doing so much in the interception game this year, but definitely not doing enough in the or not good enough in taking care of the football. And he knows that, and the Browns got to be better at that. And defensively, if you can force takeaways, it's going to make your life so much easier. I don't know why this Browns defense has had so much trouble with it. I think Kyler Murray put the ball on the ground like 4 or 5 times in that game, and they couldn't come away with 1 fumble recovery. So they need to create their own luck. They need to go out and get the football and take it away from the opponent. And this week, you mentioned Myles Garrett. This would be a great time for Myles Garrett to get one of those strip sacks of Ben Roethlisberger. This would be a great time for Grady Williams or Greg Newsome to get his first NFL pick. I mean, again, they need to turn the ball over, and that's going to make their lives a lot easier as a defense if they're able to do so.
We've talked about it. Browns beat the Steelers last 2 times they played them, final game of regular season as well as playoff game. Baker Mayfield talked about that, and did it give the Browns any confidence?
I think that was big, because division opponent Steelers, they've been, the face of the division for a while. It's just always a physical game, and so you saw that physical battle, and you saw the running game of what that was, and the flashes of our potential. So, but none of that carries over into this year. So, it gave us confidence last year, but we've had to hit the reset button because we're sitting right here at 4-3.
And again, that's kind of where they are. So when you look at this game, what do you see as the keys for the Browns to come away with a win against Steelers, first division game of the year?
Be true to their identity. I think that's in my estimation, that's what I'm saying, is be true to their identity, both offensively and defensively. Offensively, run the football. It'll help Baker Mayfield, who I expect to play in this game. It'll help Baker Mayfield. It'll help the passing offense. It'll help everything if you can run the football. Offensive line's got to be ready to go. Nick Chubb's got to be ready to go. Dearness Johnson's got to be ready to go. Establish your identity in the run game and let everything go from there. Defensively, be that team that gets to the quarterback. Use Myles, use Jadeveon Clowney, get to the quarterback, be great against the run. That's what they've done all year. They've been great against the run. And if you can get to Ben Roethlisberger, you can be aggressive against Ben Roethlisberger, that'll open up so much more for you. So I think they need to stick to their identity to win this game. Again, run the football, get after Ben Roethlisberger, be aggressive.
When you look at what you expect them to do in the pass game, clearly Jarvis Landry was not 100%. There's been that 10 days of recovery. We know Odell Beckham Jr. is less than 100%. What do you expect the Browns to do in the passing game if, in fact, it is Baker Mayfield that is under center playing quarterback?
If Baker's out there, you can't put reins on him. You can't. Again, this isn't a situation. If you have to put reins on him, then take him out. This is a divisional game. You want to be able to do everything you can do in your offense. So if he's going to go out there, he is expected, and there are no excuses. That's the problem here. Is that if he goes out there, he has no excuses to not play his best football. I don't want to see them, hamstringing him and making, him make 2-yard throws. I want to see him being Baker Mayfield. So I expect a little bit of that. I do. I expect them to run the ball, but also I expect a lot of play action, getting guys like Odell and Jarvis open. I assume Jarvis is going to end up playing in this game, even though he didn't practice today. He's just that kind of a guy. I assume for those reasons, again, I want to see the normal passing game. I don't want to have excuses for, Baker this, Baker that. If he can't do it, he shouldn't be out there. And he would say the same thing. If he felt like he couldn't do it, he wouldn't be out there. So we'll see how it goes. I expect a lot of the run game too. I expect a lot of good things from the offensive line. I expect a little bit of Dearness Johnson in there as well. I'm looking forward to seeing them as a unit.
And the other thing I think that could again happen, and I think this is always the case when you have somebody like T.J. Watt or a Von Miller, I think you're going to see a lot of the screen game. You're going to see, and I think it might even go to Nick Chubb. I wouldn't be surprised with Kareem Hunt being banged up and injured. I would not be surprised at all to see a couple of screens to Nick Chubb.
Yeah, that's part of their offensive identity. That's why I said stick with your identity. I think the Browns do a great job of running the screens. They've done it with the tight ends, then they can continue to do it with the tight ends. They did it last week with Austin Hooper. They can do it with, David Njoku. They can do it with Nick Chubb. They can do it with Dearness Johnson. I think it's a very, very good part of their game, and it's a good part of their scheme. So I definitely expect that as well. You're right. You're playing an elite pass rusher like T.J. Watt. You got to find a way to negate him, and part of doing that is making them respect the run and making them fall for the play action and making them overextend on screen plays and such. So I think Kevin Stefanski does a great job of coaching that, and I think the Browns will come in with a really good game plan to combat T.J. Watt this game.
Hayden Grove, reporter for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. Hayden, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All right, Hayden Grove, make sure you read them. Pages of the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Tim Bielik from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com will join us. We will take a look at some quarterback rankings from our old buddy Mike Tannenbaum. Also, Baker Mayfield will talk about that 51-game starting streak getting snapped. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Browns getting ready for their first divisional game Sunday against the Steelers, 1 o'clock. So on FS1's Speak For Yourself, Emmanuel Acho talking about if the Browns should pay Baker Mayfield and what they should do.
Should the Browns pay Baker $35 million a year? Yes, they should, but for no more than 2 years. Ooh. So I don't care, Browns, if you want to give Baker Mayfield some sort of 2-year, $70 million deal. I don't care if you don't want to franchise tag him. That'll end up being roughly $35 million, if you will. But Browns, pay Baker Mayfield not only because of what he's done for y'all, but because of what he's proven he has the potential to do for y'all. But you can't pay him too much, and you can't pay him for too long. The real reason, so you can't pay him for too long is you got two running backs that are beasts. Both 26 years of age.
Good point.
I don't want Baker Mayfield to use up all of Kareem Hunt's and all of Nick Chubb's prime years.
Right.
Baker, use up a couple of them. You might be able to take us to the promised land. You took us where we ain't been in, 18 years before. You took us where we ain't been since 2002, 2007, 1994, when you're talking about winning a playoff game. So, Baker, you've taken us to places we've never been. But I don't want Baker to use up all of my true workhorse's great years. So if I'm the Browns, yes, Baker Mayfield deserves $35 million a year beyond the shadow of a doubt. However, let's not do 3, 4, 5 years. I'm not there just yet.
Tim Bielik, let's welcome in Tim. Tim, here's my problem with that. Where are you going after 2 years then? That's what doesn't make any sense to that. So, pay him for 2 years and then do what?
Yeah, I know. I feel like the idea of extending him just for only 2 years doesn't really make any sense to me, and probably wouldn't make sense to Baker, because if he's going to want to get money, he's going to want to get money for 4 years, 5 years, as long as he can, for as much as he can. And I think maybe the mid to upper $30 million range may be kind of where this ends up, unless Baker comes back and looks like, end of 2020 Baker, playoff Baker, and maybe even more than that. There's still room for him to grow. And I think Emmanuel was right on point saying that you not only pay him for what he can do, but what he can still do. And I still think there's more to tap into when it comes to Baker, but it's hard to evaluate how he's been this season just because of that shoulder. And it's clearly had an effect on him in the way he's played for pretty much all but one game since he got hurt. And that was, of course, the game in Los Angeles.
Yeah. It is. It's just very difficult to evaluate. I think that's a very apt way of putting it. All right, Mike Tannenbaum, ESPN commentator, came out with his quarterback rankings, and these ones are a little bit of a head-scratcher. Kirk Cousins up at 15, Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, Jalen Hurts at 18, and Baker Mayfield at 19. Trevor Lawrence right behind him, then Winston, Roethlisberger, then Case Keenum. I'm not sure what he's looking at with this. I've seen Jalen Hurts play, and I would not put Jalen Hurts ahead of Baker Mayfield. I wouldn't put Jalen Hurts ahead of Case Keenum. Daniel Jones, the same thing. I guess, and again, Mike Tannenbaum's been a GM. I get it. But he's also a guy that evaluated, Mark Sanchez as being, a really good quarterback, and he washed out pretty quickly. So I'm not sure the eyes are for quarterback is right there with Mike Tannenbaum.
Yeah, I think I'd be curious to see kind of the rest of the list. I'll have to look it up later, but them putting Mike Tannenbaum putting Daniel Jones ahead of Baker Mayfield to me is the ultimate head scratcher. I mean, I'm still not completely sold against Daniel Jones. I don't quite know what he is. Maybe he's just kind of an average guy, but I don't think there's a universe where I would have him ahead of Baker Mayfield. Mac Jones maybe could get there. I don't think he is right now. I don't quite have him in that discussion. Now, when I see where Baker is, for a while, I've had him as a top 15 quarterback. He was in the top 10 of my quarterback power rankings at one point, slipped all the way out, and kind of worked his way back in before the injury and before he missed the Denver game. But there are some head-scratching decisions. I think, like, Kirk Cousins is way too low. Jameis Winston is way too low in my estimation. When Baker's healthy and he's able to play, he's easily, to me, a top 15 guy, and on a good day, he can get into the top 10, at least at this point. He's closer to 10 than I think he is to 20.
Yeah, I think that's a fair estimation. If Jones and Hurts were flipped, I'd say maybe it was alphabetical. Maybe he got bored with the thing and he just went alpha. I don't know. All right, Baker Mayfield also talked about having the 51-game straight starting streak snapped, and if it was difficult for him to kind of say, I just can't go.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was pretty important, just because looking at all the dysfunction that I had to overcome to be able to start the whole time and stay healthy and do all that. So that was very important to me, but that's an individual thing, and it's more about winning than anything. So we did just that last week and trying to do the same this week.
Is it difficult to kind of balance, like, you want to be out there, you want to play, versus you also have to think a little bit long term as you kind of assess what you're going to do week to week or day to day?
I'd say yes, because that was the first game I missed in 8 years, and before that I had missed. So I've missed 3 total games in my life. So yeah, that was a tough decision because that's just not something I'm about. I'm not about missing practice or playing time. So yeah, but it's a long-term picture, and that's what everybody's, the devil's advocate of, but other than my mindset. So it's good to hear both sides and just evaluate it.
And that little clip there tells you why teammates like playing with and for Baker Mayfield.
No question about it. You could tell, obviously, disappointed that he didn't get to start 51 games, which, again, when you go back to, we all remember the infamous quarterback jersey. The fact that it got past 50 consecutive games in and of itself is pretty remarkable considering the history of the Browns at that position. And obviously, I would imagine Baker have had to been in incredible pain and discomfort not to play just because of how tough he is, how he's been able to just bounce back after taking some hits and be able to go. And obviously, the torn labrum in the shoulder, now the fracture of the humerus bone, it's pretty easy to see why he didn't play on Thursday against Denver. It's going to be interesting to see how he practices throughout the week going into Sunday. If he's ready to go, he obviously won't be 100%, and I don't think he's going to be 100% for the rest of the season until he has surgery on the shoulder. But, obviously players like that, when they see the toughness coming out of the guy at the most important position on the field, it obviously radiates down. And I think that's where kind of, the old cliche of the culture kind of starts with the quarterback and the most important player of the team. But you kind of see it radiate down from Baker, at least when it comes to his toughness and not wanting to be out the field unless he physically just can't go.
All right, this tweet is from Steve Palazzolo from Pro Football Focus. It is the highest percentage of pressure dropbacks that turns into sacks. And you see where Baker Mayfield is. It's not where you want to be between Fields and Mills, but you also see Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray. You see some of the elite quarterbacks in that. That's a function of trying to make something happen, except for the rookies that you're looking at. I think that's with Fields and Mills. I think they're not completely seeing what exactly they're looking for.
Yeah, it's such an interesting list. Like, you mentioned you got Justin Fields number 1, Davis Mills 3, and then you talk about all these veteran guys around there, guys that are among the best quarterbacks in football. And there's obviously a lot that plays into it. When you're a great cornerback, teams are going to press you a lot more. They're going to force you to try and get the ball out quick, put the ball where they want it to go instead of where you want it to go as a quarterback. And the other thing I see when it comes to a lot of those guys are scramblers. Baker's a scrambler, Russell Wilson's a scrambler, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, they all scramble. So I think obviously that plays a lot into it as well when they're trying to extend the play, trying to just buy time for some guys to get open. And, sometimes it's just a case maybe you need to throw the ball away a little bit. And, I think it's just that gunslinger's mentality where you just want to make a play every time you have the football. Like every time you got it, no matter what the play is, you think you got a shot to do something. I don't want to give up on it. I don't want to give up on it. I just want to make something happen. It can work out in a lot of ways, but it can also work out negatively, as we've seen Baker Mayfield taking some hits. Obviously, that last sack against the Cardinals that knocked them out of the game against the Broncos. And it's just got to be a situation where maybe one of the adjustments the Browns make is they create some checkdowns, or they create situations for their receivers to get open more quickly, so Baker doesn't have to hold on to the ball, especially if defenses are kind of playing the deep ball and kind of forcing him to take whatever's just in front of him.
Tim Bielik from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. On the other side of the break, we'll hear from Mike Tomlin talking about the Browns offense and defense. We'll also have our thoughts on the Steelers and Browns game. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Browns Steelers getting ready to kick it off at 1 o'clock Sunday over at First Energy Stadium. Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin talking about what he sees from the Browns offense on tape.
First on offense, you can't talk about Cleveland without acknowledging their really potent running attack. They have quality backs, first and foremost Chubb and Hunt and so forth. But they got quality players up front. They spent a great deal of money acquiring some of that talent in free agency, Conklin and others. They got some high drafted talent like Willis. They got a really good collective group there. They do a good job of getting hats on hats. They're individually good players. They're collectively good players. They look like a group that's, got some cohesion in their second year or so together. Can't say enough about Coach Callahan, the line coach and run game coordinator, man. He really does an awesome job. With the schematics, he's got continuity with Stefanski, and they've got staff continuity that I think turns up in their run game, and that's why they're able to do some of the things that you see them do, regardless of who the runner is.
And Tim Bielik, what do you expect to be a key for the Browns against the Steelers on the offensive side of the football?
I think the key is going to be, winning first down, trying to get yourself out of those second and longs, those third and longs, because we know how aggressive the Steelers are. We know how great their pass rush is. TJ Watt and company are obviously very good again to the quarterback, not quite as good as they've been in several years, but still a very good defensive front. So the way to neutralize that in a lot of ways is the best way to do it, I should say, is to win first down, to put yourself ahead of the sticks, as they say. If you can get 4 or 5 yards on first down or even more, then you put yourself in favorable position where defenses can't just blitz on you, that they have to respect the running game. I mean, you don't have to respect the run game that much on 3rd down and 8, 3rd down and 9 or whatever. So if Browns can win first down and they can have balance in their offense, they can be able to mix run and pass, work the play action game into it, and really break some tendencies against a good Steelers front seven. I think there could be some opportunities to be had against the secondary, depending on which skill players are able to go, depending on who's able to be out there. I think there's some opportunities to be had, especially if they can find a way to either neutralize the Steelers' aggression or find a way to use it against them.
Yeah, and to your point, if you win on first down, TJ Watt can't go crazy in the obvious passing situations. Mike Tomlin also talked about what he sees from the Browns' defense on tape.
It's Myles Garrett and company. He's the guy that's capable of really wrecking your game in an instant. You better be cognizant of him, but he's not a one-man gang. They got some quality people. Clowney, Tack provide quality complements and depth on the edge. They play a lot of people on defense. They get around to the ball. They're fundamentally sound. I've known Joe Woods, their coordinator, for a long time. Really good football coach. We've been in stadiums against him a lot in recent years. He was in San Fran prior to getting to Cleveland. He was in Denver before that. I think we've seen this guy every year since 2018 or 2017. And so we're familiar with him, but he is also familiar with us. It should provide a really competitive atmosphere.
And Tim, when you think about the Browns defense, what do they need to do to take that next level where they become the dominant, really good unit that we kind of thought they were going to be, that they've shown flashes of being this year?
I think they got to take the football away. I think, part of it is you got to get some interceptions. I know John Johnson had the big pick against Denver with that end zone interception that took away a touchdown drive. That was obviously huge for them to keep momentum. I think it's just, just being able to take the football away, ending drives, one way or another, whether it's taking the ball away or even just getting a 3rd down stop or a 4th down stop. We know that they've had problems with that all season, particularly in big moments. And I think the defensive line needs to elevate its play even more if possible. We know how good they could be, individually, whether it's Myles making a play or Jadeveon Clowney making a play or even Malik McDowell doing it. Now it just needs the kind of thing where they can become more dominant, where they can become more consistent, where you're just overwhelming the other team. Maybe in some points, if you're Joe Woods, you dial up some more blitzes, you be aggressive, you try and manufacture takeaways, because ultimately, as a defense in the NFL, you're going to give up points, you're going to give up yards. It's just the way it is going up against these modern offenses. So you got to be able to find ways to end drives. When you get a team in the 3rd and long, you got to close the door. You got to force them to punt the ball away. you know, when you get in the fourth end, you got to get the stop. You got to get the key turnovers. Those little things that you got to do, those are the hardest things to do. But that's really, again, the separator from being good to great is those great defenses just know how to make those plays.
Before I let you go real quick, how do you see this one playing out? Who do you think wins and low scoring, high scoring? What do you see?
Well, for my newsletter this morning, I did bold predictions for those football insiders that got it. I got the Browns winning a little bit of a weird score, 21-18, obviously not knowing who's going to be the starting quarterback. You know, for the Browns, again, it's going to be important to win first down, to manipulate the line of scrimmage, move that a little bit at times, and, you know, try and get some big plays out of the guys that you have on the field as far as skill, especially if you get Nick Chubb back. That would be absolutely massive. And defensively, I think it's going to be interesting. We know Pittsburgh doesn't have an explosive offense. The run game is not good. But I think if defensively, the matchup to watch is – there's two matchups for me to watch on that side of the ball. It's the Steelers' offensive line against the Browns' defensive line. Steelers are not particularly great up front, and Ben Roethlisberger neutralizes that somewhat by getting the football out. And I think if the Browns' corners – and their secondary guys can win those one-on-one matchups, often against guys like Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool, who are both very talented receivers. If the Browns can win more one-on-ones and neutralize those big plays, they got a shot to walk out of First Energy Stadium at 5-3 and set up a potential matchup for first with Cincinnati in a week.
Yeah, and that's ultimately the goal. Tim Bielik from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. Tim, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much.
Got it. Thanks for having me, guys. Have a good week.
You too, Tim Bielik. Make sure you read him in the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. That'll do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. See you again tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Scheduled guest Doug Lamery's columnist for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com, and Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan. That is tomorrow at 4 o'clock on Sports for CLE. Have a great night, everybody. We will see you tomorrow.